All right, all right. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Shout out to Lawrence, good brother, Dr. Rashid, appreciate that. Pistol Pete, man, congratulations, man. Congratulations. All right. Looks like I'm heard. Malika, what's good with you, man? On the clock at the Foundry, what's happening? Shout out to Kansas City. JCG, what's going on? Discipline, what's happening, man? Hope you're well. Saint African, 2 Triv, Indigo, what's good? OPO? Yeah, working on it, brother. Working on it. I'm gonna talk a little bit about it in a moment. Oh man. Shout out to Sergeant Willie Pete. Good to see you in here, man. Yeah. Catarl. If I haven't mispronounced it, Catarl New. Mosquitoes. I left the door open. Anyway, yeah, shout out to all of y'all coming through. Layman's Journal, what's good, man? I didn't put out a notification. I literally just dropped a start. But yo, y'all check out Layman's Journal Live. My man had his channel shut down by YouTube. More than likely it's AI. So this is where his new channel is. He's also on Patreon and a number of other platforms like Kick and I think Twitch, but go check him out, support his channel, get reacquainted with him. Highly recommend his Patreon. Because YouTube is tripping with some people. So shout out to the brother. Oh man. All right, CMC, what's going on? Hen King, what's up? This is my parents' neighborhood is locked, retirement place to love. All the children have graduated. There are children 15, 20 in the house. Some street don't have kids at all. Kids are grown. Okay. Well, look, I didn't prepare a show. It was just a couple of things I wanted to kind of say. And this is really more the terrain of Mr. Z, Angry Man, BGS. They're real good at getting up and just talking. That's never been my thing. I'm a classroom teacher. So most of the time, if I get up in front of some people, it's because I have something to say and it's been orchestrated and planned to some extent. I really don't have one tonight. There's a couple of ways that death has kind of made itself present around some people I care about. And I suppose, if anything, I just kind of wanted to put this on your radar, gratitude for life and all, but it's hitting in some different ways. So let me just, I really don't have the patience or the wherewithal to build up a show or provide any intrigue. I'm not really in that place. A good brother of mine, I've known him for, I think we met in 1993 in undergrad, so it's definitely over 30 years. He was killed a few days ago. He lived in Long Beach. And we've been friends for a long time, but we kind of fell out earlier this year. Well, I won't say that mutually. He took issue with a lot of the direction of my research, and it bothered him. We had a couple of discussions about it, but he still remained bothered. So he kind of withdrew, and we hadn't spoken in a minute. So I wasn't angry with him in the slightest, but he was upset with, some of the directions I was moving in. And I respect people's space. If you want space, I'm not going to kick your door down. But if I love you, I love you. So, I'm here. If we're close and you decide you need some space, I'm here when you're ready. If you're not, it is what it is. But I will say, I thought we would have time to reconcile, that kind of thing. So let me post this on the screen here. You see how unprepared I am. Yeah, this, by the way, just before I get to it, this is a picture. This is a screenshot of a discussion I had with an older cat, a colleague of mine, good brother. And he said he went to the local food bank yesterday. He sent me this morning. He said just to see how they were preparing for SNAP benefits and the cutoff and whatnot. He said it was closed when it was normally open. And he said it appeared the local law enforcement and the National Guard were staging for crowd control. He said he saw tanks in the street. Right. So we know shit is getting wild. And it looks like it's about to get wilder. So just to kind of put that up there. But let me find it. Y'all on Facebook know I post a lot. Sometimes I just do it just to stay busy. Let me see. There it is. So, in case you don't know, this is my boy Mark. And Mark and I have been friends, like I said, since about 1993. He's a professor. We went to graduate school about the same time. We both came out of Cal State Dominguez Hills. We both taught for Dominguez Hills after getting our masters. He went to Champaign, Illinois, did his master's out there, did a stint at Yale for a project he was working on, came back to Cali, took care of his mother and father, and a few days ago, he was killed in his backyard. There's a news report about it. Unfortunately, he was killed by his own brother. But it's my brother Mark. And we had a lot of years. He was in my wedding. Whole deal. His daughter called me to tell me that he had been killed. They said he had been found after over 12 hours laying out by himself. And he was taking care of his mother, but she has dementia, so she didn't know he was out there. Somebody else had to find him. And when they did, they managed to get him to the hospital, but he was brain dead. So, as per his wishes, he didn't want to be on a machine, so they had to pull the plug. So, I normally don't share a whole lot about my private life, not for any particular reason, not even for security's sake. I just don't know how much of it is really relevant, how much of it is really interesting enough. I'm not an exciting cat. I'm pretty repetitive in a certain way, practical, not very exciting. But I share this because there were a number of people that have known Mark over the years that may not know that he's passed otherwise. He didn't hold a position. He had not worked in a long time as far as, any traditional teaching position. He just, did his thing, took care of his family. So he wasn't in the public eye at all. So I want to get this message out to a number of people who have studied under him, gone to school with him, may have known him from other walks of life. Even if I don't know you, this is my way of getting it out. He didn't want any fanfare. He didn't even want a ceremony. He didn't want anything. As far as he was concerned, according to his daughter, he was like, think about me and keep it pushing. Now, I've talked about Mark before, years ago. I talked about Mark. I told the story. Some of my longtime listeners might remember. Mark was the brother when my wife passed in 2009. Matter of fact, this took place 10 feet from where he's standing in this picture. I managed to call him when I was leaving the hospital to tell him my wife had passed. He was coming home from the liquor store and he was about to walk into his house. He pulled his key out. He was about to put it into the front door, and he was on the cell with me. And I told him Desiree had passed away. And he turned around, got in his car, and drove 2.5 hours to Fresno. Didn't go back in the house, didn't pack a bag. He literally just turned around, jumped in his car, and drove. And he just showed up. And the brother stayed with me until I put my wife Well, we cremated her. I didn't put her in the ground, but until we had the ceremony and went through the whole process, he stayed with me the whole time, several weeks. He went with me to the funeral director to plan the details, and a lot of it he did himself because I wasn't present, and he knew all of that was going to happen. That's how he was, you know what I mean? So just turned around and jumped in his car. I didn't ask him shit. I didn't ask him for shit. I just was calling to make sure he knew, because there's only a couple of people that I'm close with, that I'm blessed to have as friends. So when I told him, that was his response. I only have a couple other people that I'm that close with that provided some incredible support. Shout out to Jelaba. Shout out to there's a couple of brothers in the equation. My cipher, there's a few of them that came through. Orlon, Mike, shout out to you brothers. But that was Mark. So I mentioned I told that story before, and that's the brother right there. And to find out that he died so unceremoniously, particularly before, he and I could have reconciled something. Like I said, it was a one-way frustration. I wasn't upset with the brother at all, but I just missed the chance to resolve that. And especially since he's not having a ceremony, I wasn't going to let this pass without me saying something. I'm not very people friendly. I'm not highly sociable. I'm a Libra, so I can get into a room and chop it up, but then I got to disappear for 3 days and recharge. And I'm just not the nicest person in the world. So if you get close to me, it takes a lot. And we got, we got like what? 33 odd years or something in history there. I watched his daughter come into the world, just gorgeous, man. She still is. Beautiful spirit, beautiful heart, prettiest smile you ever seen. You know what I mean? And he is probably, I know about 3 black men my age who are exemplary fathers. Jelaba, Mike, and Mark. And they inspired me to be a better father, just watching how they handle business. But he's right up there. Top 3 fathers I've ever seen. And I needed to say a word. I needed to say something. Because I'll be damned. I'll be goddamned if you're going to leave this earth and not have somebody say something on your behalf. Because your life meant something to a lot of people, but definitely to me. And I appreciate you, brother. Really do. I wanted to say that. Because I think the kind of brothers that come onto my channel, shout out to you, Ghost. I appreciate that support, brother. Kind of brothers that come to my channel have likely all experienced this. Shout out to Malika. Appreciate that support, man. Y'all have experienced this. I have a feeling that y'all have experienced this. You've lost brothers. Some of us didn't even make it out of high school. Some of us middle school without losing boys to one thing or another. We all dealt with it, but still doesn't necessarily make it easier. So, but like I said, I don't really have a script, and a little later, if some of you want to come up, I'm open to that. But there's 2 things I wanted to at least put out there. First, my acknowledgement of my brother, but second, the other way that death has been making itself apparent. I'm not going to name names out of respect. I have 2 elder men that I know and greatly care for. who are at a point in life where they are retired from their life's work. They are a little disconnected, have lost a sense of purpose. And in many respects, and I want you guys to tell me if you've seen this. I really want to know if you've seen this. And I don't really have an answer for it, by the way. This is new for me. This is new for me. These men have checked out in every way except physically. Have you ever looked someone in the eye that's ready to go? You ever talked to somebody that has resigned? They're not hurting themselves. They're not jumping off of nothing. They're not going to take their own lives physically. That's not what I'm talking about. But they're ready. And they just don't. They just don't care. You know what I mean? They're ready. And everybody around them wants them to stay. But they're hurt. And the thing about it is, I understand enough of it to get it. I'm not in that space, but I understand enough of it at this point in my life to get it. Some of you have known I've had hip issues for years, to the point where I've needed a hip replacement. Well, now it's at a point where I need a double hip replacement. So, it makes it difficult as far as mobility, you know what I mean? And, so I mostly teach from home. I don't really go too many places because mobility is definitely a bitch. Walking in and of itself is a torture I hope you never have to learn about. But I do know what it feels like to be largely immobile and really just be at a point where you start asking yourself certain questions. But I'm not where they are. And where they are, I don't know how to help. But to know people that you love, but you see them checking out, is a whole different experience. Right. And I normally don't like to come up here without solutions to offer people, but I'm afraid in this area, all I can offer is the most generic shit imaginable, which is just to make sure they know you love them. I really don't know how to do more than that. I've tried, therapy for them. I've tried making suggestions, meditation, different kinds of things. But, when you're dealing with people who are ready, I don't know what to suggest. And you can't carry the load for them. You know what I mean? So I call it passive suicide. That's what I call it. I was talking to a retired psychologist colleague of mine, and I was telling her about that. And she almost dropped the phone because she had experienced that with her father. I think it was another family member, but she knew what I was talking about. And it's something that I think people experience, but I don't hear anybody talk about, especially as it relates to Black men. When Black men reach a certain age where they've provided for families for decades, they've provided emotional labor for those around them, and then reach the point where they are no longer able to do the thing that gave their lives meaning, it can be easy for us to say, well, just find something else. But, you get, in the late 60s, 70s, 80s, some people can do that. I've met elders who found something else, but I've also met elders who didn't know how to try, didn't have the energy. They're not morose in the sense where you can't talk to them. They're not, so depressed that, everything's dark and whatever. They're just, it's real neutral energy. There's no effort one way or the other. They're just kind of cruising and waiting, really. That's probably the best description I can give it. They're kind of waiting. And it hurts your heart to see. The only thing I could suggest, and I'm really open to whatever experiences y'all may have had and what you may have discovered, but the only thing I can say is that I've made it a point to try and let them know, how much I care, how much the sacrifices they've made is appreciated, is acknowledged. One of the things I find about men, older men in particular, is that not a lot of people acknowledge the sacrifices they've made. I've actually seen them moved when you can articulate what you've seen them do, because very few do. I don't care if it's coaching, driving you to games when you were a kid, showing up at different points in time, teaching you particular life skills, having conversations with you that were critical to your development. That kind of shit is what men have done since time immemorial, but it's not acknowledged. And you'd be surprised how many of these brothers go to their graves where even their own children don't acknowledge the abstract and the material that these men have sacrificed for. So I'm witnessing this moment where some of these elder men are ready to go. Not a word is extended to them about what they've done, who they are, what they've been for people. It's almost like they just, tossed in the trash in a way before they've left here. And I know I'm not the only person seeing this shit, but what to do about it is a whole other thing. So at the very least, all I can suggest is to acknowledge what they've done, who they are, what they've sacrificed, what they've contributed. And I tried to do the same with my friend Mark. Tell him you love him. If you love him, tell him you respect him. If you respect him, don't lie, because that makes shit worse. Or at the very least, generate mistrust toward you. Be honest about whatever it is they meant to you, but tell them. Now, if there are better ideas, I am more than open to listening, but I'm saying at the very least, do not let these people leave this earth without telling them what they mean. And I mean that with anybody you love, but what I can say about men, because I can even say this about Mark. Mark is probably 2 or 3 years older than me. So I just turned 51 October 3rd. So he was probably 53, 54. I don't know. I highly doubt that anybody really had a chance to thank him for what he's contributed. Except maybe his daughter. But how many of you actually have had people acknowledge what you've done? How many have sacrificed for you where you've had an opportunity to thank them? Appreciate that, JCG. But these are the kind of things I find that men have grown accustomed to not hearing. These men who are waiting for death, they're not doing so with the expectation that they're going to be acknowledged and thanked. It's not even a thought. It's not even a part of their mentality. They pretty much expect that whatever they've done is prologue. It's done. It is what it is. I am requesting that those of us who understand the burdens of men in families, in community, in relationships, friendships, those of us who understand the burden and sacrifice of men, acknowledge it. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's just shaking somebody's hand and looking them dead in the eye and saying, thank you. I saw what you did. I know what you did. And if you can recount it, do it. And I know none of you are expecting anybody to do that to you. So at the very least, give it to those around you or in your life that deserve it. Because you know it's not a given that we're going to get it. I mean, we've been witnessing from social media to lived experience, ongoing practice of dismissing men's contributions and sacrifices. Hell, I've been seeing all these videos lately about how people are embarrassed to claim they even have a boyfriend. Don't get me started on how many husbands are unhappy because nobody acknowledges what they've given, what they continue to give. Really more of that Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately kind of attitude. And I'm not just talking about women, children, even friendships. We just fucking take for granted, man. Take the time, man. Tell them. Just tell them. I tell my son I'm proud of him every single time I can. Not just because I am, but I also don't want him to ever doubt how I felt about him. When I leave this earth, whenever that may be, I don't want him to have questions about that shit. I don't want my friends to have questions about that. And I missed that opportunity with Mark. And I just don't want to miss it again. Now I can say most of the people in my comment section, I have never had a chance to meet you in person. But I am grateful to you for your support over these last years. I truly am. You guys gave me an opportunity to have a conversation that I couldn't have anywhere else. And I can't tell you how much that's meant to me. And I don't mean that shit. I'm not asking for no donations. I'm not trying to get you to give. That's not that shit. What I'm saying is I came to YouTube because I had questions that I could not solve anywhere else. In the academy, most of the brothers I tried to talk to at the time about my questions either didn't have answers or disappeared. I've seen grown men at a conference see me come and turn around and walk the fuck away like they didn't know I was there because of the questions I was asking. And it was mostly about how Black men were treated. This is very early in my process trying to figure this out. I could not find a place where I could engage these questions seriously. And y'all, this space provided that opportunity. You having these discussions provided that opportunity, and I was able to answer questions that I could not answer anywhere else. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you all provided that space for me to do that. But I would also like to create a culture, or at least petition for one, where Black men can extend and receive respect, particularly amongst each other, and appreciation for who we are to one another. We know how to do that. I believe we do. Do we do it? Whole other question. Are we willing to do it? Whole other question. I don't know. There's a level of sincerity that I don't think is difficult to reach. Just takes a little courage. Are we willing to do it? I don't know. But I do know that Black men carry a load that I've not seen anywhere else on the earth. That's not to say that others don't struggle. Everybody struggles in their own way, in different ways. But what I've witnessed with Black men is unparalleled. And even Black men themselves don't always acknowledge it, don't always observe it. It's like being a fish in water and trying to ask the fish about water. It's just the environment I'm in. And I think that's how many Black men handle the load that we carry. It's just the waters I'm in. We deal with it or we don't. We swim or we drown. But it's just the waters that we're in. But I would actually like to generate a culture where Black men can extend appreciation to each other for what we meant to one another. I really would. And to be able to do so without having to say no homo or pause and give a fuck about none of that. If I love you, I love you. If I was gay, I would tell you. If you were my boy and I was gay, you'd know it. So I don't give a fuck about none of that. If I love you, I love you. And I'm gonna tell you that. And I've done that long before I've come to this moment in my life. But I think after this week, I've just come to really understand how necessary it is to let the people know in your life that you care about them, and that you appreciate what they've done. I don't care how small the sacrifice. Mark and I, most of that has just been conversations that we've had. But I remember some of the things that meant the most, like driving to see his boy and staying at my house with my family until my wife was, till things were properly processed, I guess, for lack of a better term. My phone went out a couple of days before my wife passed. One of my boys, I don't know, this was 2009, so I think this was still the era where you could buy these special phone numbers or some shit. He bought me some kind of 800 number. I forget how he did it, but he got the word to me. He said, "This is the phone number. It's there as long as you need it." Until my phone was active again. Because I couldn't call people to tell them my wife had passed. I got word to Mark, and I think my phone cut off after that, some shit. I don't even remember the details at this point, but one of my boys got me a damn phone number the moment I needed it most. It's not like a lot. I mean, shit doesn't have to be expensive. I'm not asking for it. It's just the fact when somebody comes through in the clutch, most particularly if you didn't even have to ask, that means something to me, because I don't have a lot of friends. So I take that seriously. I appreciate everything, man, because I know this shit goes by too fast. Yesterday, I was 21. I was, man. Mentioned 300 plus pounds, perfect shape, running around like life had no end. Yesterday, my son was born, and I could fit him in one hand. 7 feet tall now, but then I could fit him in one hand. I met some of the boys that I would know for 30 years, 40 years. Some of them, I remember meeting them. Didn't know it was going to be a relationship that would last that long, but I'm grateful for those moments. And I don't want to dismiss them. I did then because I didn't appreciate shit. You don't know when you're a kid that you just met somebody you're going to be boys with for decades to come. You don't know that shit. You just, it's just the waters you're swimming in. Most relationships, you don't ever see those people again. Some of them, they stick with you. To all of those who have stuck with me, thank you. I don't take you light. People I thought would be here often disappeared. People I didn't expect to come are still holding it down. All I can do is appreciate both for what they were, but most particularly those who stuck around. And I mean women and men, shit. Can't take none of it for granted. So I don't. I'm gonna drop a link. Anybody wants to come up and drop a word, please be respectful. Please stay on the topic. But here they go. Got this camera right in first place. All right. So there. I'm dropping the link. Go through some of these comments, see what y'all talking about. Now, yeah, appreciate the journey. You know what I mean? Cliche as it sounds, is real. Shout out to Mark. You've been saying this for the longest. I appreciate every time you do, man. Thank you. What's up, Carl? Professor, what's going on? Stay solid yourself, good brother. Let's see what we got here. All right. Got a few brothers coming through. Let's see what y'all talking about. Oh, okay. Oh, shoot. I think one disappeared.
Hello.
Oh, so I see Lauren and I see Duquette. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's Duke. Duke CT.
My bad.
No worries.
Duke CT. All right. So I'll just go in order. Lauren, what's good with you?
Hey, doctor, how you doing? I'm sorry about your wife. You know, I've caught your show a few times, and you're excellent. I love your subject matter. Somebody that's talking about Black men, and that's a subject that is not talked about enough. The stuff that you address is really important. We live in a world where it's in vogue and it's in fashion to criticize Black men and effectively discard them. You know, so I'm so glad that you take on the subject matter that you do. I'm sorry about your friend and your wife, and I was watching baseball and I was glad I tripped onto you because the show is important. What you talk about is really important, and
I appreciate that.
I just, I don't want to take up too much time. I just say keep doing what you're doing, and I'll be watching. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Let me see, Duke.
Yeah. Just wanted to say condolences to you and all that type of stuff, man. It's hard to go through all this stuff right now, and like you said, we only meet each other like in spaces like maybe for a minute, and a profound change in a person's life, like for a young kid, and then they grow into like the adulthood. You've never seen them again. How many people we let go away, like when you go to high school, college. Some you keep them for life, some just fade away. They can still live around you. So always make sure you care about everyone else. Always make sure you actually tell them that you care and love them, and make sure that you, if you have only a couple of minutes or something, make sure that time is worth it and meaningful, because right now we especially you look at the social media, like the previous person said, it's not a Black man. I see Black boys getting just lies being spread about them, and what happened with that the whole brick lady situation, and I hate that. I hate that we have become poised against each other. Black men, Black women, all that stuff, and I'm heart sick about that. I'm heart sick. Yeah, I'm heart sick about all of that, and the real thing we need to be is together and find out who we truly care for each other and love one another, because it seems like it's easy to divide in this society right now, man. It's just we're a lot easier to divide than actually find real comfort within us, man. And just hopefully with stuff like this and everything else, hopefully the tide will turn and we can be more connected and more have more love within not just ourselves.
Because really what I'm asking for is a certain degree of a willingness to be open, to connect, to be able to articulate it. And if you got people and you already communicate a certain way and y'all got a way of conveying love for one another, by all means follow what works for you. I try to tell people, but that doesn't really matter as long as it's conveyed. If it's just cracking a brew and sitting with your boy, if it's just watching a game together, whatever that language is for y'all, just make sure it's known. Now, I am an advocate for articulating, but if whatever gets the damn message across, man. And I want to say something to Kiel. He said, it sounds like the end of something. You scaring me. I don't mean to scare you. I ain't doing nothing to myself. It's nothing like that. I'm just in appreciation for some of the people that have walked through my life. Some of them have been short, some of them have been long, but what I just find about brothers is we go to our graves not hearing shit. Like I just, I witnessed it, and even before I knew what it was, and I just want I want us to be able to communicate something, because it ain't no guarantees with this.
Yeah.
You know, but AB, man, you popped in next. What do you got to say, bro?
Hey, what's going on, Dr. Tate? We appreciate you and all the knowledge you brought to this space.
Man, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and life's short, fellas. Fortunately, I have to go to a funeral on Wednesday of a kid I babysitted as a kid.
Oh wow, that's too bad. How old are we talking?
Dude was 21.
Man.
Got shot in the roadway and got shot for honking his horn.
Jeez.
Oh, is that the one in the news?
Yeah, with the Mexican lady. Yeah, I knew him. I babysitted him.
What?
Yes, his father was actually married to my cousin for a time.
Damn.
So I babysit him and his siblings. We looked after him.
For honking a horn?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
And it's ironic because 2 years ago, he actually came by and thanked me for, treating them fairly, treating them kindly and stuff.
You know, the thing about that, man, is what I found is sometimes it's as simple as a thank you or I appreciate you. And you'd be surprised where people are at random points. I've had cats call me and say I was on the verge of hurting myself.
Right.
And just on, I may have just, hey man, thanks for this. Or, it was just a passive thing. But you never know where other people are, man. And sometimes a word or two, as long as it's true. I'm not trying to tell people to lie to folks, but you never know what that can do to somebody. And especially brothers, because I find brothers on the fucking edge, man, far too often.
Yep.
And sometimes and it doesn't even have to be deep, man. I've seen people break down crying at a thank you. You know what I mean? Like it's just, that tells you where some people are, how far things have gotten. And we don't talk about this kind of stuff publicly. As a matter of fact, we're kind of ashamed to do so, even by other Black men. But the reality is, this is life. This is real. Sometimes something like this can be the difference between life and death. Just communicating that you see somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I see you. I appreciate you. That can make all the difference. And that's what you're talking about, AB. I mean, for you babysat him, you chilled, you talked to him. What did that mean to him? What kind of decisions might he have made differently in life if not for those kind of moments?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. But
I'm drug related, but I treated him fair. I treated him fair like he was like my little cousin, because his father had 3 kids with my cousin. So
Damn. I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah,
when is his funeral?
Wednesday.
Oh, my bad. I missed ask a brother. What's going on, man? Yeah, man, we can holler at each other, man. My email is in the chat. Just Hasan.Johnson@gmail. Hit me up, man. But good to see you on here, bro. But man, I'm real sorry to hear that. I'm real sorry. What was his name?
Cantrell.
Okay. I saw his picture in the article, but I didn't know you knew him.
Yeah. Babysitter.
Wow. Malika, man, come in here and join in on this, man. What's good with you?
Peace, good brother.
Hey, man. Peace to you, man. How you been?
You have my condolences. And I just want to say something to you. I love you, big homie.
Oh man, I love you too, bro. I'm waiting to hear what's going on with you. We haven't talked in a minute.
Well, it ain't about me. This is about you, man. And this is about I wanted to say one thing. Thank you for having this platform. Thank you for having a platform for us brothers that we can come and talk. And from Angry Man to BGS to Artisan and I'll never forget that ill-fated day, man, when I'm at work. I get that phone call from you and Artisan back to back and say, you got to come on the show. You got no, but hear me out. That was love.
Mm.
And here's what I mean by love. All right. You're a prestigious doctor emeritus at your university.
Well, I'm still there, but I hear you.
No, hear me out. You're a prestigious doctor, educator, writer, and you're a very humble man. You're a great person. You're an awesome father. I'm just a dude from Philly. And you had me want to come up, and I mean, I'm in your chat and we know other people, but you want me to come up and you thought of me to come up and speak on your show, not once, but twice. And that warmed my heart. And, you know, you said something that was cool that I haven't heard, and it made me feel good. You said, I want you to come up because you're brilliant. I'm like, man, get the hell out of here. But that, you know how to make somebody feel, and you're not, I know you weren't gassing me up, but when you said something that makes a man feel good, you know how a black man feels good that another person thinks highly of him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those are things. And when we talked as men.
Mm-hmm.
And every time, you know, you have a safe place. You know, Artisan has a safe place. AB has a safe place. BGS has a safe place. But it's not just a place, but it's a place for all black men. But also a place for us intelligent black men that we can shine and we can just speak.
Yeah.
And as we're speaking now, like, you know, you're speaking about your friend. You're speaking highly about your friend. You know, no one cares about us. Like I've been saying this before, you know, black men were seen as the Dixie cups of the black community, or the Dixie cups of the community. We're disposable and expendable.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter from all socioeconomic backgrounds, you know.
Right.
If the four of us men, we drop dead tomorrow, you know, God forbid that, you know, is really people going to really care about us?
Mm-hmm.
Are people going to say, wow, you know, Dr. T came up with this amazing legal plan? What do we mean? We can, no, he's been doing this ever since he's always been coming up with this plan, this agenda, this political agenda, this social agenda for us. You know, when you come and you speak, you come with facts, but also you come with helping us think. You know what's a beautiful thing? I remember 3 important times in your life with your son you talked about. When he graduated from high school and you showed a picture of him and you said, there he is, he's the biggest one out there. When you got him his first car.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like you said, he just went out with his friends and you had that talk with him, you know how the way the fathers had that first talk when you got that car, right? And I remember I typed in, I said, go ahead, man, have that talk when you were just proud of him. And then the first day you took him to college, and I remember you came back and you talked about it. And you were smiling from ear to ear, and it was a beautiful thing because you said, like you just said, I remember when that boy was born.
Mm-hmm.
And now I got into college, and I remember every time, like, you would talk to like old movies, and you would talk to him. You said, "So, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" But the thing is, you're asking him questions, and you know, it was just amazing things is how the way, you know, not many brothers come and talk about their sons and their lives, and you being a single father. And being unapologetic about it.
Yeah, man. We got it.
And also being transparent about your life. But also you did great things. You would talk about your wife, how you cared about her, how you loved her, and how the way things were. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And you know, you're talking about your friend. Not a lot of men will give flowers to a friend. And how you know, now here's the thing you can tell somebody is your friend, where he drives 2 hours. He don't get a change of clothes. He just jumps in the car and he goes and he stays with you. That's a friend to the end.
Yeah.
And you know, it hurts because is anybody talking about him now like that? And I'm not saying that he doesn't have family or he has family members like that, but like,
Right.
you know, you're his boy and you're talking about him and you're revering him because it's the funny thing, like you're revering him as a man and as a person.
Yeah.
Not just some dude. Like that's the, you know what the hard thing is, man, for us black men? We're not even not just being as men, we're just not revered as just being as human. You know how at the end of your show you give this characteristics of how the way we're seen? Right. No, but that's a very poignant thing. All those characteristics that you're saying we're seen, but it's can I just be seen as human? And like how Angry Man said, not as a human doing, but just as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like you said, that 1,000-yard stare, I had that 1,000-yard stare before I went to prison, man. And then when I came out, when I'm doing good, when I told you I went back to school and I was doing good, right? And this is like when the manosphere was kicking, and we would go to BGS for like 8 hours straight, right?
Right.
And I was in my junior year, and I told you about this, AB. And I think I told you about this. And I was about 45 in my junior year, and all my financial aid was out. I'm on the dean's list. I have no more money. And I just got out of prison, you know, I'm doing well. And I was like this, and I was about to commit suicide. I was about to jump off 13 stories into my death.
What?
Yeah. Because it felt like I didn't have anything. So I heard BGS's deep baritone voice saying no. And I saw Angry Man's face come in my head. He had that mean mug and says, "What you doing? Come on, you made it this far." And I went back in and I sat down and I called my cousin's ex-husband. He's a Marine. And I talked to him. And like how you say, you just need somebody that you need to talk to, that you know you need to speak to. And I rapped to him. And he was straight. He says, "Well, why don't you go talk to somebody's house?" "Well, there's my department. And she's cool." He said, "Man, what you on the phone with me for? Get your ass in there and talk to her." And I went and talked to that woman. And she said, "Why did you come to me earlier?" Now, here's one thing that I realized. My mentor said this to me. He said, "Don't make these white folks mad at you and don't get on their nerves. Do what you need to do and be cool." And this was a white woman. And mind you, I'm doing good. And she says, "You're one of the greatest students. I mean, you're one of our older students." She said, she got on the phone, she called the bursar's office, and she talked to that woman for like about 10, 15 minutes. And she says, "Oh yeah, she's going to help you out." She said, "Give her a call tomorrow," and everything. In my mind, I'm thinking like, damn, this is what these white folks can do for you? But here's the thing. As black men, we're taught to hold our pride. Don't go and ask for anything. Right. Buck it up. Do what you have to do.
Yep.
You know, you got to find a way.
Right.
And because we had that foolish pride, we didn't want to do that. And I mean, think about that. There were two men that I looked up to who were in my life. And because of this circle, because of this era, because of the Black Manosphere, because of having BGS for men and having Angry Man, those two guys came in my head and were telling me, no, you still fight it out.
Yeah.
And even here, like, you know, I look forward every Sunday to go to listen to Artisan because I'm at work. I'm at a job that I hate.
Yeah, damn.
No, but you have to understand something. You don't understand what that means because that stuff, that's therapy for me to get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, artist is your relief.
And it's not that just a relief. You know what it is? You guys are my friends talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that, like, at times I would talk to Artisan and what I'm going through, and he's like, keep getting through it.
Right.
And,
Right.
and
Right.
he would be candid about how the way he would go through stuff. And, just feeling that, the hardship and, when you're there and make it through. And sometimes, like, if he's on and if I can get on just to come up and talk to the guys, like, even though it's last minute, but just it feels good just to talk somebody to have that camaraderie. Black men, we rarely have camaraderie.
No, that's
Now
true.
we talk about iron sharpens iron, but we ain't got no iron to sharpen at times, man.
1 second. There's a couple brothers that keep trying to come in Bonisi, I think it is, but it's saying you guys have to connect your mics. So it's not that I'm blocking you. It won't let me add you until you connect your camera and your mic. And so you guys got to finish that before it can let me bring you up. But go ahead. I hear what you're saying.
And it's just, I mean, it's kind of funny to say you call somebody a friend that, you're connecting with them virtually, and it's kind of hard to say that. We always say, well, I have a friend, Dr. Hasan Johnson, he's just a prestigious, professor. And, I have my friend AB, he's a programmer. And I'm like, and people like, but at the same time, Black men, we never had this before. We never had connections, and we can never talk about our problems. We can never talk about our issues. Like, this is a situation, death.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about death. In the black community, we don't talk about death, period.
Right.
And especially as Black men, we don't talk about death, like, but we don't talk about our pain, our despair, our hardships, what we go through. We don't talk about, like, you said, this is your friend. This is one of your best friends. This is a man that came to you because he felt it in his spirit. I got to go see my boy because he needs me to be there. And, we all deal with family members when it comes dealing with death. You got to deal with all this thing, but he's helping you out at the funeral parlor and helping make things.
You know what it is? What I noticed is that when it comes to men, especially when you talk about, iron sharpens iron, we have this, that's kind of one way we think of helping one another. But when I talk about being vulnerable, right? The problem with that is our only definition for vulnerability in relationships is often what we see in media, and it's usually framed around women. And I'm not criticizing how women get down with each other. That works for them. But part of what we hear is that in order for us to be vulnerable and reinforce one another, we have to model how we do it around how women do it. And men don't necessarily, bond in that way. So I'm not suggesting that we do. What I'm suggesting is that you have the courage to look at the person you care about, look them in the eye, and say what you have to say.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be looking for a ring and flowers and get down on one knee. And I'm not asking people to come up so we can cry together and hold hands. It doesn't. All I'm saying is there has to be, like, put it to you this way. If you were able to tell your father or the man who played a father role in your life, if you had 5 minutes on his deathbed before he leaves this earth, what would you say to him? What could you look him in the eye and tell him? I'm not asking you to perform something we've seen in movies or to, whatever that bullshit is that we think of when we associate vulnerability with truth. It's the same thing. I mean, what would you say to your newborn child? I mean, this is, I'm telling you, as somebody who held my son when he came out, I'm looking at him. He hasn't even opened his eyes yet. He hasn't even cried yet. I'm holding him. What do you know how to convey, even in that situation, how you feel? Doesn't matter if he can understand you. Can you convey it? Can you articulate it? What do you say to your boy who's been with you through thick and thin, who may have even saved your life, who's taken the fire with you? Can you look that brother in the eye and say what you have to say?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in this space because I'm mad about what some woman did to me years ago. I have problems in my marriage. No relationship I've been in was perfect, but I've loved several people, most particularly my wife. I didn't come here because I was mad at her. I would be here if she was here or not, because I had something to say to and about black men, but I loved her. Can you say that? Because the real irony about the red pill is that a lot of the brothers that are most well known have wives at home, or women that are wives, even if not on paper. But you get my meaning. Women who've been in their lives. You know, go talk to Angry Man.
It's even deeper than that. I've said this online plenty of times. There are ratchet women that I have love for. I care about them, and I'm never going to apologize for that. I don't want to be with them, but I still care about them and want to see them do well.
There you go. Can you say that? And that's my question. Can you be honest enough to speak that truth? That's all. It doesn't have to be more complex than that.
You know what? 2 occasions. When I was in prison, I used to work in the kitchen, right? And I'm walking back, and I start crying. I'm walking back to my cell, right? I start crying because I'm thinking about my grandfather. And my grandfather always used to want me to have a good, strong work ethic, right? And one of the guys that ran the kitchen, he said, "Good work, me bang," because I'm a cook, right? And I said, "Thank you." And some of the dudes keep saying, you know, "Me bang, why you working all crazy hard and stuff? You know, you just in prison." I said, "Because I'm preparing myself to get back and outside, because my grandfather always said I have a good work ethic." He said, "But that's outside." He said, "It doesn't start." And when I said work ethic, and my grandfather, that just came out of my head, and I'm walking back and I started crying. Because I'm thinking, when he was telling me how to just wake up early, rake them leaves, wake up early, shovel that walk, stop standing around with your hands in your pocket. And when I was a police officer, he would smile at me and put his hand on my shoulder. But then I said this word, I said, "Thank you, and I'm sorry." And when the sorry came out, that's when I really started crying, because I felt that I failed him because I'm in prison, because he didn't raise me to be this way. So the second time, my best friend, he lives in Ohio. This was a dude that had my back all the time. If I needed money, if I need this, he would always help me out and everything. And I really, really, really felt guilty one time, because one time in school, I really need money, and I called him. And he sent me, he cashed at me $150, and I felt low. And a couple of years back, I gave him a care package, right? I put everything from his favorite foods, like he loved combos, he loved tasty cakes. I had old superhero graphic novels. I had gotten like first edition of Lord of the Rings, like 70s books. I got that for him. I had looked through like old drawings that we did together, like old comics we used to make when we were teenagers, right? And I just gave that to him, and I gave him a card. In the card I wrote, and I said, "Thank you for being my best friend for 30 some odd years." Oh, and I put a post-it. I said, "Share some of this food with your wife, because I know you eat it all up." And his wife said to me, "Oh, the care package, da 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 da." She said, "Did he call you?" I said, "No." And she's like, "Why are you doing it?" I said, I said, "Stop."
Leave it alone.
I said, "He does not have." I said, "Hold on. He does not have to thank me."
Right.
She said, "But," I said, "You don't understand this." I said, "This is man shit." Right. And she kind of understood that. She's like, "Okay." I said, "Did he like me?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay. I knew he got it, but he does not have to do that, because I know how I said, "He's not warm and fuzzy like me." I said, I said, I'm the warm and fuzzy one. He's the more logical, stoic one. And she says, yes, he is. I said, as long as he was happy. And I said, did he share the food with you? She said, yes, he did. I said, oh, and I laughed at that. Did you put the post-it there? I said, okay. But that was my way of thanking my best friend for 39 years because
there you go. There you go.
I knew what he liked.
Yeah.
And I gave something from the heart that I was like, hey.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I catch him off. I'm like, hey, I just wanted to say thank you. Or I text him myself, I was thinking of you and I loved you. And he will not say it back. He'll give an emoji of the prayer hands. And I know that's for him saying it. So I'm like, that's where, and I have a small circle too. It's like that old saying, like, if you had to bury a body, who would be the first person you call? I was like, it'd be him.
There you go.
So, and here's another thing. He is the only person that came and visited me in prison.
Oh, shit.
Now, mind you, him and his wife, they were going on vacation, right? And while they were going on vacation, he says, well, we're coming up there. I'll come and visit you. And I saw him and I cried. And he's not one to always be emotional. And he hugged me back. And then he automatically went in and started talking about, okay, this is the Marvel movies and the DC movies that came out, and we're going to talk about that.
All right. I love it.
and that's how the way he is. And his wife came in and they started doing that. From that point on, that's where that's your homie, because that's what he did. We just start talking about that.
Yeah.
And that's when that's your friend. And
connections, man. Connections.
Yeah.
Let me bring up. So we got Village Elder. I just brought.
I had to head out. Love having this conversation. All of y'all, be safe.
Peace,
love
bro.
each and every one of y'all, and
love you too,
I'm rooting
man.
for all of y'all, man. Love y'all.
Likewise, man. You take it easy, brother.
You too, man.
Peace.
You too, lady. I love you too.
All right, let me put the names up so y'all can see. Village Elder, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, man.
Thank you. Listen, man, first and foremost, man, I have to tell you that I love you, man. I've been following you for a long time. Bought your book.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things that I appreciate about all brothers is that you all give me the words and the language to understand my experience.
There you go.
I'm a 70-year-old elder, and I have gone through things that I didn't really understand because of the fact that I couldn't put words to it.
Yes, sir.
I thought I was by myself.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and now I'm listening to you all, and I'm like, the cavalry is coming. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
There is a need for safe space in our lives, man.
Yeah.
Where we can come together and share our experience.
Uh-oh. You borged out. Can you hear us? Okay. I don't know what the sound went out, Village Elder. Uh-oh. You still borging.
We have been in war our entire life, 24/7. You understand? Spiritual, physical, intellectual wars our entire life. Never knowing this thing most people around the world striving for, peace. And we the most peaceful people on the planet. That's the only thing we looking for, man. And so one of the things that I wanted to share with people is that, listen, all it is just us coming together as black men. Black men know how to have peace. Nobody else in the world has ever done it. Nobody else has. We live peacefully before other people showed up, man. One of the things that resonates me when I sit up here and look at history, and even when they depict our culture in various places around the world, do you realize people could walk around naked and don't nobody mess with them?
Damn.
Nobody mess with them. Ain't no sexual assault. No, ain't no physical assault. That's peace, brother. That's black people, man. And so right now, when we look at that pendulum swing, it's coming back to, well, who knows how to usher in this? And the only people that know how to do it is brothers. So right now, all we have to do is just become our authentic selves. I know it's hard, man. I'm listening to y'all, man, and I was almost brought to tears just listening to it from the start because I felt the pain already. But I also understand that it's about us, because we the only ones that understand what needs to be ushered in. And so hold on, brothers. Hold on.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You the ones. This is about you and me. We the only ones know how to bring this shit in, man. Excuse my French, brother. Okay?
It's all right.
But we the only ones that know peace and how to do it. Our ancestors did it. All we got to do is just remember what it was like to be peaceful and create institutions.
Right.
Create institutions that teach that to future generations. Right now, there is a void in morality. There is not one institution in the United States of America, dare I say in the entire world, that's teaching a moral code. If you taught a moral code, everything would stop. It would cease. All this stuff would cease, because basically I know that I could trust you because you're not going to violate me. Because you operating on the same principles as I am. But as long as we allow people to sit up here and say, I got immunity from being responsible, then you in essence will have problems with your relationships.
Yeah.
Because everybody got an excuse. This is about accountability. It's about accountability, and it's also about being honorable. And one of the things that I could say about brothers is that we're always principled and we always are in honor. So keep your head up, brother. Keep your head up. It's about you, brothers. Peace and blessings to the community, man.
Peace to you too, man. Thanks for coming up. That's something I want to, that he reminds me of, the cross-generational relationships between brothers. I had a chance, this was probably over a decade ago, and I was really getting into this research about black men. And I had a chance to sit down with my father and my godfather, right? 2 separate occasions. And their kind of approach was, all right, what is this crazy shit you into? What is this? What are you doing? And by the time I got done breaking it down, you know what it feels like to see the men that were gods to you when you were a child, men that you look up to, shed a tear because you were able to explain something that they lived through. And as the brother said, but didn't have the vocabulary to articulate. You know what I mean? I was able to even explain. I'm not saying that they didn't know anything I was talking about and I was schooling them. That's not what I'm saying. But I was able to explain some things that we talk about in this space that they never had, the opportunity to get the verbiage on, to get the vocabulary on. So I'm explaining, like when I got to the 1970s and I got done explaining it, that, I was born in 74. They were 25 years older than me, but they were living through it. By the time I got done explaining it, they were like, I needed to hear that. You know what I mean? I needed to understand that I wasn't crazy. I was going through something at that time, but nobody explained it. You know what I mean? Our wives were trying to divorce us a few years after that period, and this was going on, and that was going on. They were just living through it, but they didn't understand it. So that there's a conversation we can have where there are people that live through difficulty, and we've had the opportunity to study it and make sense of it. And we also have the opportunity to tell some of these young cats coming on how not to make the mistakes we made because of what we were taught. And so there's a cross-generational relationship. The only time I hear us really talk about that is when it's infighting. And that's not always bad. There needs to be debate. There needs to be a back and forth. I don't doubt that. I'm not dissing that. But I am saying there also needs to be a reinforcement. And that reinforcement can take place just as easily as the debate. It really is just about being able to have a conversation that's rooted in a desire to support one another. And so just having those conversations, I mean, and even Kevin used to talk about that. Kevin used to talk about older men that would walk up on him and just hug him in tears, men in their 80s, because he was explaining shit they lived through but didn't have a vocabulary for. He explained the history, the statistics, just like we do. And I know some of y'all have had those experiences too, right? That cross-generational relationship is real. I talk to my son, not just because I love my son, but also because I want to hear what these young cats are talking about. What are they experiencing? What are they going through? And, you know, how much of it is similar to what I've been through? How much of it is different? Because they're going through some shit that I never experienced. You know what I mean? Even if you just take something as simple as social media, we couldn't even rationalize. We couldn't make sense of the idea of social media 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Right? And now there's so much that takes place on it so quickly that it changed the paradigm, right? So our kids are growing up in a whole different situation. So we got to be able to have these cross-generational discussions amongst men and not just debate, even though that's part of it, but also be able to communicate and reinforce, learn from, and give back to, you know. So I appreciate that brother coming up.
Social media has been a double-edged sword, Doctor.
Sure.
It's been social media has been good in a lot of ways, but you know, I see so much of the anti-black male misandry is happening on social media, and I think one of your folks you may know, Turin Walker. I think I heard of you from Turin Walker, but
Turin,
Turin, I'm sorry, Turin, and he. But as somebody in the chat said, you create the platform for so much of this communication to happen. It doesn't exist at all. And as somebody who's worked in the media and worked in politics, I have seen it up close what happens when that group is left out of the discussion. They become the target of so much nonsense, so much stereotype. But you've created an amazing platform, an amazing discussion. And you know, thanks for letting the lady invade for a few minutes here. You know, but I love this platform. I love the stuff that you brought up, and it's a rare thing that you must keep going.
Wow.
Really important.
I appreciate that. We have to learn to be authentic, and not be rooted in performance, self-doubt, fear. You know, none of that, man. We just gotta be courageous enough to be real, and just say whatever's on your heart and mean it. And it doesn't have to be more complex than that. Just keep it simple. You have to say, can you tell somebody you care about them? Can you thank them? Can you acknowledge what they've done? And that's really it. It doesn't have to be more complex than that. You know, and I just want us to get there. Discipline, what's up?
How you doing, good brother?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm all right. I want to share my condolences, my deepest condolences.
Oh man, appreciate it. Yeah.
I went through the same thing actually. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to a good friend. Actually, he was more of a family friend, older, much older.
Okay.
And I didn't get that chance either to really.
How long ago are we talking?
This was actually, let's see, I was 19, 2016. So yeah, I didn't get that chance either to thank him, for the advice that he gave me. And that still bothers me to this day. Yeah.
That's what was hitting me about Mark when I was reflecting on it. I assumed that we had time. I took it for granted that there would be time. We don't always age internally the way we do externally. You know what I mean? I may be 51, but in my head, there's a 21-year-old kid still walking around sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes whatever. But I just assumed, like I did as a kid, that I had time. And so when the discord between us came about, I just was like, okay, I'm gonna give him space, and we'll communicate at another point and we'll be good. And I just assumed the time.
Yeah.
And
I'm here with my friend that died earlier. I thought I had time.
Right.
And I got that call that he was gone.
Yeah. I'm about to bring Leon on, but Leon, your camera's on, so just wanted to make sure you knew that. You know, it's up to you. There you go. So, what's up, Leon?
Just got into the house. I took the kids trick or treating in my mom's neighborhood. I think I got the music playing from the others. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Oh, some reason your music is really loud in my ear. I don't know why.
No, that's weird. All right, go ahead. I'll turn it off. Oh, there we go. All right, so go ahead, man. What you want to contribute on this?
Like I tell people, I grew up as a military brat. Certain things I thought were perfectly normal until I started actually engaging with it. Um, I took a friend to the VA once because we used to hang out with there with the GIs and everything, and we were sitting down talking to an older guy, and he was like, I was just talking to my friend. I said, "Oh, where your friend at?" He was like, "Oh, he's dead." And I was like, "Okay." And my friend, the friend that I brought with me, he was so confused. He was like, "Yeah, he just had blood on him, you know." And sometimes we have conversations. I was like, "Do you have any friends left here?" He's like, "No." He's like, "I'm just waiting." And so
Wow.
my friend's just sitting there staring. And like I said, I thought this was just normal when I was younger because I grew up, you know, great uncle Vietnam, my other uncles Vietnam from all 4, 5, 6 sides.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my great uncle, I used to run to his house to get away from certain people in the family, and
Mm-hmm.
he moved to VA. So I just run down there every single chance when I was out of school just to get away from certain people. And
Mm-hmm.
he, he was like that. It was just waiting. And we found out that after one of my aunts died, that he had colon cancer for like 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he just kept it to himself. And you know, being that he was a guy that went to Vietnam from Mississippi, there was nothing for him in Mississippi, so he left everything. So after his kids graduated, it was like, what else is there?
Mm.
You know, one of my a guy that we known since childhood in Baltimore, one of my dad's friends. I brought my brother with me and my dad, and I was like, we're gonna see a friend. He was like, okay. And he seen him when he was first, second grade. And I think at this time I was about 27, 28. And my brother was probably in sixth, seventh grade at the time. So we go in the house. He sees him, but he doesn't know that it's him because he's about 120 pounds less.
Ooh.
And the guy's just chill.
Yeah.
He's just waiting. And we hang out. My brother and I and my dad leave out of the house, and my brother's asking me what's wrong with him. I told him it's almost his time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you think you're just gonna see somebody, laid in the bed, and he's there, he just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And he's confused about it. I'm like, look, he's an 80-year-old black guy
Mm-hmm.
from Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, think about if you probably lost a friend in a car crash,
Mm-hmm.
that you went to school with. He's been in Baltimore his whole life.
Right.
He's a black guy that's in his 80s.
Yeah, man.
He's just waiting.
He's waiting. He's ready.
Yeah, he's ready. And I've seen this so many times.
Right.
It's like adding new people to your life doesn't do nothing. You can do it in church, but you can have a pool buddy, play pool with, go to a bar, you see guys in there, you just watch football, but you're not really trying to add anything to your life once you pass a certain age.
Mm.
And I've seen it repeatedly,
Yeah.
and I thought it was something normal. And like I said, it's because retired GIs, my cousin's, his mother's side of the family, his grandfather just passed away
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic, but not from that. And he talked to me. He was just like, I don't get it. I said, you get it. I was like, you have an emotional attachment to him.
Sure.
You know, I
Sure.
was like, you seen the same guys in the military, because he's the opposite. It's the same thing. That guy went to Vietnam. All his friends are gone. He's telling you he's waiting to die. Let me go ahead and go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
you go ahead. I want to add something to it, but go ahead. Finish your thought.
oh no, go ahead. It's, you know, even my grandfather and his brother, all of them lived to 80 because they left Mississippi. They left Mississippi. They brought that same work ethic to Chicago, Maryland, and Virginia with them, and they were accomplished. But when you really take a look at it, you know, I used to go to the slaughterhouse with them when I was, you know, 1st to 4th grade.
Okay.
That's where all the guys hung out at. I asked them about, you know, the slaughterhouse. I was about like 30, 32. He's like, we don't go there no more. All of them are gone. So the last place that a guy like him go, he doesn't go to the Masonic Temple no more. You know, all of them pretty much passed. Goes to the church. He's the oldest black guy in there. All his friends are gone. Everybody he knew from 14, 12 to 50, 60, all those people are gone. It's just waiting.
Yep. You raised something significant when you talk about health. You talked about cancer, and that's something I've noticed a lot of it too. It's usually there's a health issue at play, and I've seen a lot of cancer in older cats. There's an immobility factor, right, where they're not able to get up and get around. And like you said, man, you added a whole nother component to it that I think is relevant. When you get to a certain age, especially when it comes to black men, how many of those men are how many of your friends are no longer here? Yeah. Those are key elements to bring to this, because you see that those are almost precursors to a cat just being ready to go. And you're right that it can become our issue that we want them to stay when they're ready to go. But you know, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, whether you can convince someone to find the motivation to stay or not, at the very least, what you can do in either case is thank them, or at least acknowledge them, or, you know what I mean, what they meant to you. At least be able to tell them that before they leave this place. You know, because how many of us met our end and didn't have a kind word? You know what I mean? It just, not even that. Didn't have a kind word, didn't have somebody that even sat with you in your training. You know what I mean? You leave this space with nobody saying goodbye, nobody there. You know what I mean? I've seen that shit too. And it just, I'm like, man, what does it actually take for us to actually just extend that to one another? You know, that's all. It doesn't have to be deeper than that. If you can't get them to stay, if you can't help them find the motivation, I can't say much about that, because I haven't been able to find a way to maybe, but at the very least, you can let them know. You can let them know something. You know, that's really all I'm trying to get across. And I didn't do this show with the intention of saying that. Something said I just had to say a word, and we gotta have some kind of discussion, because I'm seeing this shit happen too much. I look at this, you know, the life expectancies, and I see how many of us go. And I've talked about this years ago. Even the grandfathers and families who have no fucking memory in their own families' houses, the houses they helped build or buy or put families in. They got a picture somewhere at best. Nobody remembers their names. And I can't tell you how many people whose houses I've been to that couldn't tell you their grandfather's name. It incenses me to think about. And when I became a man and I began to understand what the struggle of manhood was about and the sacrifices men made, it infuriated me to think about how many of those men left here without a word, without nothing. And I'm not talking about the guy that beat on somebody or abandoned their kids. I'm talking about good stand-up men that didn't get a send-off, didn't just were taken for granted.
Yep.
And dismissed.
Yeah.
And the sacrifices of their lives meant nothing. And don't get me started on the, because I come out the 70s. I remember when being a stepfather was just a thing that I saw a lot of men doing. We have a discussion going on now where men are saying don't be a stepfather, but I grew up in an era where a lot of men did that and they paid dues, man. They stepped in and sacrificed and took the load.
Yeah.
Of new families. And I saw many of those men turned out and pushed out of families later when it was convenient. I saw many of those men forgotten about. The sacrifices they made were made irrelevant. I saw all of that. And I'm just like, at the very least, what we can do for each other is acknowledge.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, AP.
I didn't
ahead,
know.
bro.
Yeah, I've talked about this all the time. I did not know my biological grandfather's name until I was 30, 12 years ago.
Wow.
And the guy called my grandfather. You would have never thought he's the one that bought that house and made sure that house was paid off for my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
You would have thought it was her house.
Mm-hmm. Most people talk about it that way. That's Big Mama's house. But they don't really ask you how she got that house.
Yep.
But you hear me. But I think after AB, Malika was going to say something. But so AB, go ahead and finish your point.
I remember, like you saying, stepfathers. I had a best friend in high school, and his first wife he had met, and he became a stepfather to her child.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time, like how you say, we're Gen X, and when you get your first good job where you're making at least some decent money that you can move out of your parents' house, you get a car, you get an apartment. Well, he was going to do that. And he was about 24 years old, but he moved she wasn't his wife at that time, but he moved her in this baby, and he helped raise this child. And they didn't stick together. And I remember seeing how the way their breakup was, and he did everything for her, but his mother still kept in contact with her and still had love for the daughter and still kept in contact. He said, she's still my daughter-in-law. And he was like, for real? And I remember I'd tell him, and later on, and I remember I talked to him about that, said, I understood why you felt the kind of way and how the way your mom acted that way. And he was like, well, why? I said, because we're raised to be servants in our community. And he was like, well, what do you mean? I said, and I told him about you, told him about BGS, and I told him about Kevin. And he said, yeah, I heard about Kevin Samuels. I said, well, he took this quote from this guy named BGS. He said, Black men are raised to be servants where Black women are raised to survive. You were her survival until she moved on. Even though that you helped raise her child, that child called you daddy and that wasn't yours, you did everything. You didn't have to take her in at 24. You didn't have to be the father, do all this other stuff and go through all this stuff when she didn't have a job and she didn't want to help pay bills. She didn't want to go through all that other stuff. You working and doing all this other stuff. Yeah. And your mom wanted to do, yeah, because women will stick together, even though you're her son. And she talks about that. And I was like, yeah, and I said, and it was funny because you hear that, hearing men go through that, but then when you see it with your friend, and he was a good brother, came from a 2-parent family, working class Black family, me and this dude went to high school, but he gets with this woman. I'm like, wow, just how the way you're just seen as, like I said, disposable. You're expendable. You're here to do what I need you to do. And if I don't want to be with you anymore, okay, you got to go until I get the next dude. And it was just funny, like how you said, wait a minute. Your child's father's not in his life. or her life and take on. My grandfather is not my mother, who's the oldest of 5 children, not my grandfather's biological child.
Right.
Now, my grandmother loved my grandfather's funky drawers, but she didn't respect him.
Mm.
My grandmother would talk crap about my grandfather in front of his face, behind his back, in front of family, in front of us. She would emasculate him. Now, my grandfather was about 6'1" to 6'2", every bit about good 210 pounds. And he was a spot welder.
Mm.
And my grandfather didn't have hands, he had mitts. He had them big hands that he could tighten up a screw and unscrew, and his hands were so rough and rusty you could strike a match in the middle of them. That's the type of dude. He was like that man's man that all he knew how to do was work.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather would get up at 5 o'clock and he would come home like around 5 or 6. And my grandmother kept a clean house. She would cook for him. She would do stuff clean. But when I found out at his funeral, my mom went up, said some words, and I was like, what? And I'm every bit about 30 years old, right? Realizing that this man is not your biological father. And right then there, it hit me in my head, and I had that like little red pill wake up moment, meaning like, and your mother talked cash shit about this man for 40 days and 40 nights about him. And this is the time, when my grandmother had my mom when she was 19. And back in the day, if you had a child out of wedlock, they would take you down south. Yeah. And my grandfather and her got married when they both were 21. So he had a 3-year-old little girl he had to take care of. And I was like, this is just crazy stuff, how the way it was. And like, but then it's something that is supposed to be, well, this is something you're supposed to do. Well, even though, like, well, if a woman has a child or children from previous relationships, well, you're supposed to take care of this woman's children. But nowadays, we're not having that. In your son's generation, a lot of these women are wondering why these men are not asking or taking them. No, because we've taken it. No, we don't have to take care of you. We don't want to take care of you. We don't want to deal with we don't want to deal with the responsibility. And the reason why we're saying we don't want to deal with the responsibility because we don't get the respect.
Yeah, especially if somebody's ungrateful.
Well, it's not a given anymore. And it's not that brothers won't do it. It's that I think brothers are learning to articulate that if I'm going to take this on, there needs to be an understanding, and that understanding needs to be rooted in respect. That's not something, the men I grew up under, in the 70s and 80s, that wasn't something that they had really learned to articulate that way. They did what was required, but often there was no acknowledgement, reciprocation. It was just an expectation. If you're a real man, then you'll do X, Y, and Z. You'll take care of my kids. You do this and that. They didn't, they thought that their job, that's just what their job was. And we grew up watching it. And to be honest with you, I expected that. I just thought that was going to be what I was going to end up doing. I mean, if you'd asked me at 18, what I saw in my future, I would have imagined I would have married a woman that had a few kids already. And I dated a few that had kids, because in our community, that ain't, it ain't difficult. But
well, it was normal.
Yeah, it was pretty normalized. So this discussion is really new, where black men are saying, wait, hold on. If I'm going to do this, we need to have an understanding. That was something that I didn't even know you could do. I remember the first day I heard a man say, no woman with no single mothers. I was like, wait, you can say that? Like, I didn't know you could say that, because I'd never heard that before. And I think the conversation is going to find its own equilibrium. I think a lot of it comes out very intense because of the experiences we've had that we didn't have a vocabulary for. So I think that's a lot of that intensity is there, but I think it'll equalize to the point where a brother can express that very straightforward and casually. Like, look, this is what it is. This is how it goes. I think that's where we're transitioning into. But that was the struggle we've gone through, and our son's generation, you know, they're able to now live a whole nother life with a whole other set of possibilities. And they're no longer able to be taken for granted. And I think that's important. I think it's important. But I'm gonna what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show a couple pictures, and I'm gonna let everybody get a closing thought, and I'm gonna shut it down. But I just want you guys, you know, in terms of the people I talk about, I'm gonna show you two people. So if I ever talk about them again, you'll know who I'm talking about. So since we were talking about stepfathers, I'm gonna start with that. This is 2018, so this is a few years ago. In the middle there is my stepfather. That was James. Now, for those of you who are longtime watchers, you'll know a couple years ago he passed, and I talked about him after he passed.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was about to say I didn't see anything, but now I can see it.
Can you see it? Okay. Yeah, that's James.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did, you know, before he passed, it was around this time I took this picture. I drove him to the beach. And so the last time, and he told me this, he said, this will be the last time I'll get to see the ocean. So I took him to the beach, and that's my stepbrother, you know. So I met him. Let me see. So this is 7 years ago. So I was I'm 43 in this picture. I met James when I was in 4th grade. He was my stepfather in about 4th grade. And my stepbrother is about a month younger than me. So that's when we all met. And I was able to at least say goodbye to him on the other end of life. Right. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So the next time I talk about James, you at least have an image. As a matter of fact, BGS did a show about him years ago, because this was also the man that in his 70s, this was probably about 2 years, maybe a year before this picture was taken. James was in his early 70s. He had cancer, and he was still paying child support for my stepbrother right there.
Wow.
But that's not the big twist. The twist is my stepbrother's mother passed away in the 1990s. So not only is he paying child support long after his son is into his manhood, the woman he was paying it to was gone. Been gone since the 90s. So he's still paying child support at this age right here in his early 70s with cancer. And where are those stories? What movies are you seeing this in? What conversations on social media are you seeing this in? When these black men are living like this, damn near paying dues to the grave for what?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to first, you know, share that one. The second one, real quick. Do this here. Here we go. Since I've had this question before, that's my wife. And that's my son.
Beautiful woman, brother. Beautiful woman.
So I wanted you to be clear. Like, you know, I've talked about the problems in my marriage. I've talked about all that, but I said, and I mean it when I say this, I'm not up here because I'm angry or hurt by something some woman did. That's not why I'm here. You know what I mean? I loved her. We had a marriage. We had problems. We had great times. Was what it was. I appreciate her, and most particularly, that's where my son came from. This was not long after we moved to Fresno in about 2008. She passed about a year after this picture. Right? So again, when I talk about my wife, I want you to have a picture in your head, because I'm not just making this up and talking about abstract people. I'm talking about people that meant something to me, that mean something to me. And this is part of my life. Now, I'm not really one to share a lot of personal shit, but, you know, at the end of the day, if it helps to make them real to you so you can see what I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about some abstract stories or making anything up. These are people that were, you know, that are a significant part of my life. And that also goes, for my brother Mark, who I will, I'm gonna miss. And I want brothers to know that it's all right to articulate that. It's okay to say that. You can say that.
Yeah,
That's
we need to.
But anyway, so any closing thoughts y'all have before we pull out? You're all welcome to it. Say what you got to say. I guess we could start in reverse order. So I think was that discipline were you, or with Leon was the last one in? So Leon, you want to start first? Any closing thoughts?
I think closure. I think understanding that minute differences or directions shouldn't break friendships, but accepting one's choice and direction is more the important thing to do. And understand that seeing your brother live a truth and have a different framework or idea about life than yours should not separate us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that we've seen brothers do consistently throughout our lives. This one difference of opinion, whether it's religion, what we believe socially would be better, literally separates us over one thing. And if it was never said, we would still be going in the same direction in life if it was never said. But once it's said, and you have to challenge that reality, and you have to question everything, it separates us. I'm okay with this separation. I'm okay with it, and it's my friends know who I am. They know how I operate. They know how I think. Guess what? I'm married. I got kids. I'm in this space. They know exactly how I think, and we're still friends. We still hang out. My friends have their things that they entertain. They do it on their time, but we can't let these individual things separate us as black men. And then when our boys pass away and we regret it so deeply, and we all have that. It's, you want to think about the person and they're gone, and we have this feeling that, we didn't clear up something. It can still be cleared up even in their passing. That's something that we all have to understand.
It can. You're right about that. But if the person is still here, I urge brothers to take advantage of the opportunity. But you're right. If they're gone, you can still resolve it. You can still honor it.
Yes.
So I appreciate that. Thanks for coming up, good brother.
Thank you for your time. Y'all have a good night.
You too, man.
You too.
Discipline, man. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, long live Mark. Again, my deepest condolences.
Oh yeah, appreciate it. He's a good-hearted cat, man. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you did this.
Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, we got a film review.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Jumping off on Patreon. I forgot to put up a post about it. Let me see.
What time?
It's going to be at 5 p.m. and I think that we're.
Okay.
I think the vote came down for tomorrow for Sinners. So we're gonna do a film review of Sinners tomorrow night.
Yeah, probably not gonna be able to say for for some of it, but
Understood. Is the funeral tomorrow? Is that you said it was tomorrow?
No, but the Coliseum. I got the Coliseum at 10:30.
Oh, okay, that's right. All right, man. Well, yeah, but thanks, Discipline. I hope you can come through, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. I'll holler at you. AB, man. Any closing thoughts?
My condolences to your friend for your friend Mark, and thanks for having me up.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. My condolences to yours, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, just keep the family in prayers.
No doubt. Thanks a lot, good brother. Malika, man, any closing thoughts?
Condolences to your friend. Rest in power, Mark. And thank you for having this very good, intimate, real cool-hearted, intimate show. I appreciate that because this is something we don't talk about. We don't talk about death. We don't talk about honoring each other as we lived and even when we die.
Mm-hmm.
It feels good. And just wanted to say this to you again, brother. I love you, big brother.
I love you too, brother. And I look forward
And
next
I
time.
just don't love you. I just don't love you. I respect you and I honor you.
Yes, sir. Likewise.
All right.
Likewise. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Miss Lauren, you came in first. You going out last. Any closing thoughts before you transition out?
Thanks for having me, Doctor. There's a lot I could say, but I've really enjoyed watching you over a long period of time. And frankly, I'm honored to talk to you and your audience on one of the most important topics, in my view, in the Black community that is not talked about enough, which is the way that Black men are treated and regarded in our community and outside of our community. I've watched up close on a professional level, and it has been shocking to me, quite frankly. Absolutely shocking. And you've covered so many of those topics on so many of your episodes. You have no idea how important your conversation is. It is huge. It is huge. And I've just been sitting here really because what I find with these conversations is that listening oftentimes is far more informative than talking, particularly on a subject matter that is not talked about enough. And so I'll just say to you good night and sorry about your friend Mark. We think about you and just keep doing what you're doing. I cannot stress that enough. I know it's easy for me to say because I'm not doing it on a regular basis, but what you're doing is huge. It is huge. And there's just know that there's a lot of people out there that hear you and listen to you. And I'm in a lot of spaces, a lot of female spaces, women, this generation, I'm Gen X, but this generation likes to separate itself off into men and women at every event. I'm always the one in the room saying, why are we separating ourselves off from the men? Like, why the guys are here? Why are the guys separate? So I never can get that, but you really have brought up so many things that are awesome tonight. The importance of telling people how you feel when they're here is a big one. And so just thanks a lot, man. Just thanks a lot. You're awesome. You're awesome.
Well, likewise. Thank you very much. And you have a good night.
Yeah, good night. Good night.
All right. Shout out to Dr. Thunder in the chat. I'm just now seeing you, so I don't know if he's still here, but shout out to the good brother. Hope all is well with him. Let me see. There was something else. Oh, that's what. I wanted to acknowledge those who had sent through donations. It's much appreciated. Shout out to Casual Economist. Appreciate the donation. Shout out to good brother Malika. Shout out to MU Engineer. Much appreciated. Shout out to Ghetto User. Says, being in that age group, I've seen it time and time again. We are disposable, Doc, and very few really care about men. People rally around the women, but not the men. Happens all the time. Yeah, indeed. Ghost Illmatic, appreciate that support. And another one to good brother Malika. So thank y'all for supporting and coming through. And this really is a challenge that I'm extending to the brothers. And shout out to Inner Light Radio. Shout out to you, good brother. I hope you're well. So support the Inner Light Radio channel, innerlightradio.com. But yeah, we need to really master holding a certain space for authentic communication. It's not something that we need to mirror around ideas, assumptions, stereotypes about how other groups emote and exchange. It doesn't need to be any of that. And you look somebody in the eye and tell them what they mean to you while they're here, right? That's the question. Can you do that? Doesn't need to take more than that. Doesn't need to be more complex than that. You know what I mean? As I said, we're going to do a film review on Patreon for Sinners tomorrow. So if you're not part of the Patreon group, come on board. Check us out. I think you'll enjoy the discussion. And right, shout out to Lauren dropping in the last donation. Appreciate that. Abuki, what's up, man? Good to see you. Got Mr. Jackson in here. Says, love y'all. Dr. T, I got some stuff for you, brother. To take over education for us boys and men. Much appreciated. Matter of fact, that reminds me, earlier in the show, somebody dropped a word and asked me if I got an email, and I doubt they're still here, but I didn't get it. But I don't remember the email, and it's not coming up on StreamYard. So the brother that emailed me earlier and asked if I got his email, no, I did not. So please go ahead and resend that. But anyway, I'm going to close out on the closing that was brought up earlier tonight. And I wish y'all a good night. Peace. I am here to tell you, brothers, we are not criminals by birth, perennial rapists, incapable intellects, man-children, sperm donors, child support wellsprings, success objects, walking phalluses, ATM machines, lottery tickets, unintelligent henchmen, valueless assassins, pro bono mercenaries, unpaid bodyguards, interchangeable stepfathers, child discipline proxies, unpaid repairmen, workhorses, emotional tampons, or any other socially accepted dehumanizing stereotype. We are thinkers, inventors, innovators, leaders, fathers, and men. Embrace your humanity, know your worth, and extend your time, attention, and resources only to those who genuinely respect you. And remember, your worth is not defined by meeting other people's narcissistic, selfish, and unrealistic needs. You define your worth. Peace.